get started with Merrill, Kelly. We got mics on both sides, so just wait for the mic and we'll get started. First question, you can start with Steve here on the right.
Merrill, just what does it mean to you to get the start here in Game 1 of a division series?
Pretty special, pretty excited. Obviously, my journey was a little different than everybody else to get to this point, but I couldn't be more happy, more just honored and excited for tomorrow.
Steve.
Do you think the WBC experience, kind of pitching in a big game atmosphere there, can help you in a situation like this?
Yeah, I definitely think it can. And we won the KBO in 2018. Obviously, the stadiums are a little bit smaller over there than they are here, but just that playoff experience and kind of just the loud atmosphere definitely, I think, is giving me a little bit more of experience going into these games. I think Milwaukee was a good entrance for us for the playoffs. The atmosphere was loud, but I think obviously Dodger Stadium is going to be obviously a step up from what Milwaukee was, but I think it was a good little entry point to kind of get our feet wet. But I think we're ready. I'm ready, and like I said, I'm excited.
Dan, you're in the front, on the left.
Hi, Merrill. So you had a little bit of extra time off here. How's the rest doing for you, and how's it impacted your preparation for the start?
Yeah, I think at this point, any days off are good, right? Anybody's got a little something they're nursing or, battling with, just kind of end of the season, grind. But the time off's been good, kind of get settled into wherever we're going rather than getting here and then hitting the ground running. Obviously, my family's with me, so that's nice being able to them get their, get settled and figure out where we're going to eat and stuff like that. So I jumped down to Santa Monica this morning, just kind of get out of the hotel and kind of get away from everything that's going on. So I love having them here, but the body feels good. But obviously, I'm not hating the extra couple days.
Nick.
Merrill, you threw well against the Dodgers, I think, a couple times ago. What do you make just of your career issues with what makes them such a tough match for you? Because you've thrown well against lots of other good lineups across the league.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery, a bit of a puzzle for me to solve. Which, going into the playoff game against them, I'm looking forward to trying to solve in this game. It would be nice to get my first Dodgers win ever in 5 years in the playoffs. In my mind, I'm well overdue for one. But I just think they prepare really well. I think they do a lot of things that other teams don't. Whatever analytics or preparation department that they have over there, I think they really do a really good job of game planning, and I think they do a really good job as a lineup 1 through 9 sticking to that game plan. If they go into a game with a certain plan, I think they're ultra committed to it, and even if the first at bat doesn't go the way that they think it was supposed to, they don't really drift from that approach. And for whatever reason, there are certain players and certain teams throughout your career and your life in baseball that you kind of run into that just seem to have your number. Unfortunately, throughout my career, this team seems to be that team for me. But I'm as confident as ever. I think if I start thinking about my previous games and how they've gone and how bad my numbers are against these guys, I think I lose before I even step on the mound. And I've said that before. I have ultimate confidence every time I do play the Dodgers, even though if it doesn't work out the way that I think it is going to, or the way that I would hope it does. So tomorrow's no different. I'm going into that game expecting to throw 9 innings, no runs. That's how I go into every game, not necessarily against the Dodgers, but some of the other teams that you've touched on. And we are diving into some different stuff and some different numbers and some different video to kind of figure out the different pieces of that puzzle. But I'm confident in my guys and I'm confident in myself going into tomorrow that we can execute a game plan and come out with a win.
Standing up on the right.
Merrill, professional or an amateur, do you remember the first really important game you pitched in front of a hostile crowd?
The state championship in high school probably comes to mind just as the very, very first one. But after that would probably be Omaha in the Carl's World Series or the Super Regional game to get to the Carl's World Series. We played Arkansas, actually faced off against Drew Smiley. We ended up winning that game in a home run in the top of the 10th, I believe. And then from there, after Omaha, it would be the KBO championship.
The last one's, take one in the middle, in the front.
Merrill, just kind of looking over your regular season, whether it's incorporating the slider, or how do you feel like you've evolved most as a pitcher going into this year?
I think the confidence has just grown. Obviously, the more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. Especially if you put the time in to really try to get better at it. I think the fact that I've been in this league for 5 years now, and I've seen pretty much every hitter there is to face. And I think with that and seeing maybe other than this team, being able to see that I can get pretty much anybody there is out, the Acuñas of the world, really anybody else. I think that's kind of where you've seen the transition go. Coming over, even if I was a rookie at 30, I felt like I was 20. I would look at guys in the league, I'd look at teams in the league that I'd seen on TV, growing up, the Kershaws of the world and, the Pujolses and guys like that. And I think at that time I was still a little starstruck by it. I had to get over the fact that I really was a big leaguer and that I did belong here and that I could get guys out with the stuff that I had. And then once you start seeing success and once you start seeing results, I think that confidence just builds. And it went from maybe picking a little bit and trying to be too fine because I was scared of Albert Pujols hitting a home run or Mike Trout or whoever it was. And once you see the pitches executed and get them out, and not only the pitches executed, but the pitches that aren't necessarily executed and they still get out, I think that's when you really see the confidence grow. And I think that's, as I've matured and gotten older, I think that's a big part of why I've had the success the last couple of years that I have.
Second row in the middle.
You mentioned not thinking too much about your previous history against the Dodgers. I mean, how do you avoid having something like that weigh on you at a game like this?
I don't know, maybe just me personally. My memory is not very good to begin with, and I try to apply that just the same in baseball. We talk about having a short memory in this game, moving on from each and every game. And myself, I don't really think too much about the stuff I can't control. And I know that the games, in my mind, obviously I know how those games have gone. But like I said, I can't sit here and dwell on them. I think the more I sit on them and the more I think about how they haven't gone my way, I'm behind the 8 ball before the game even starts. So my only approach is just to move forward and approach tomorrow's game just like another game and prepare the way that I have. And go out there and just kind of, it sounds cliche, but give it my best shot, whatever you want to call it, and kind of just let the chips fall where they may.
Nick.
I feel like one thing that a lot of people are looking at is the fact that you and Zach get to start potentially 4 of these 5 games. Have you guys talked about that? How do you feel about the responsibility and what that could mean and how it seemingly is a point in your guys' favor?
To answer the first question, no, we haven't talked about that. We had a little bit of a moment after we clinched, kind of looked at each other, and then we both recognized that we're big pieces of this team. We're big wheels in the cog. But after that, we're kind of the same in that way. We don't really harp on too much. We kind of just take things as they go and kind of move, kind of as life comes. So we haven't really sat down and thought about it. We haven't talked about it. But I think we both recognize that we have a pretty good chance if one of us are on the mound at any given game.
Merrill, you were part of a team that had to come back from a pretty rough season a couple years ago. At what point did you personally start to truly believe that this team had an opportunity to get into the playoffs and do some damage?
I would say the second half of last year. The first half of last year was still kind of up and down, and then once the second half hit and some of the young guys got called up, and started contributing, Perdomo comes to mind, even though he was there all year, but he kind of picked it up in the second half. Obviously, Corbin Carroll speaks for himself, Jake McCarthy, Alec Thomas. I think the infusion of the young guys and the young energy in our team really showed me the light in the second half of last year, and really we started playing a lot better brand of baseball than we had the previous couple years. So I would say mainly the second half on from last year, and I think that momentum kind of carried us into this year.
Okay, we'll get started with D-backs manager Torey Lovullo. We got microphones on both sides. First question for Torey. Start down the front, and then we'll go to Nick.
Hey Torey, just curious, last time you guys were in this ballpark facing this team, things didn't go particularly well for you. How are you just approaching this in light of that?
The same way that we always do. On granular focus, get done when we get done, do it our way, and focus on all the things that we've talked about all season long that have worked for us. So, yeah, I know we were a little bit of a grind last time we were here, but we're a totally different team right now. We're in the big dance. We've advanced through the wild card round, and this team feels very good about where they're at.
Nick?
Do you have an update on Gabby for us?
I do, just a little one. He has not entered the concussion protocol. He has been tested and monitored over the past couple days and continues to improve and show no symptoms whatsoever. So if something changes in the next, whatever, it would be 18 hours, we would make a change, but tomorrow we are starting catcher as of right now.
And then, forgot to ask this the other night, but we noticed as you were coming off the field from that long delay when he got balked,
Yeah.
were you upset with the fans, or what was going on there?
A little bit. I only know the Milwaukee Brewer fans to be unbelievable fans, supportive, energized, but in my opinion, they didn't have a great fan moment. You know, one of your players is basically laying down on the field. You're trying to assess him. There's no re-entry rule in baseball. We're trying to make sure that the athlete who wants to stay in the game is acting properly, saying the right things. There's certain test questions that the trainer needs to ask him, and you can't rush that process. And when a player is down on the field, it doesn't matter what team you're on, we're one. And it could be their player, and we're one. And I think the fans may have lost a bit of that perspective.
Steve and then Sam.
Torey, just how big has Merrill been for you the last 3 or 4 years? It just feels like you're able to count on him every fifth day.
Yeah, he's a model of consistency. He continues to go out there and grow and learn every start. And you know, when he came to us, he was a 29 or 30-year-old rookie, and has just been on an information search ever since. He's pitched in some huge baseball games for us. He's delivered and made pitches, and has been able to slow the game down in this stretch drive. We asked a lot of him and Zach, and he won a lot of very, very important ball games. So I know it's well documented. He was the starter in the final game of the WBC. He's just got a really good heartbeat. He doesn't get glossy-eyed. He can go out and execute a game plan.
Hey, Torey, besides the results, what's the right over here? What are the what's the difference with Ryan Thompson from where he was with the Rays to what he's kind of doing with you guys? And is there anything you guys worked on with him to kind of get where he is?
I just think he's gained confidence from the first outing that he had with us. You know, I've asked him some pointed questions, and he's very complimentary of where he was with the Rays, and maybe just became the outsider looking in, and he might have felt that. And when they went in a different direction, we were able to grab him. And he's been a savior for us in that 6th, 7th inning. He pounds his zone, a lot of swing and miss with certain pitches, a lot of contact, really weak contact, balls on the ground, and we just pitch him accordingly based on certain parts of the lineup that we feel like it's going to yield a very positive result. But he's been an unbelievable teammate. Those are the things that I know. The adjustments, I don't think there have been a ton of adjustments, because I know really the first day that he got there, he's basically pitching in the game, and he was lights out, and we've been leaning on him ever since.
Mike?
Hey, Torey, with 3 off days here, you'll be able to start Merrill and Zach 4 of those games on regular rest. Does that work to your advantage, and what do you think of the way this whole format with the off days, especially between 1 and 2?
I've been a part of playoff baseball before, and I know that there are unusual off days. This one might be a little bit different. Maybe the wild card round ending a little bit differently after 2 days threw off Major League Baseball. But I think they do a really good job of reading, reacting, adjusting the schedules. I know they've got to deal with college football and pro football on Sundays. So whatever they do, we stand by. And we feel like this puts us in a really good position because 1A and 1B are going to be able to potentially start 4 of these 5 games.
JV, second round.
Torey, looking back at the regular season series between you guys and the Dodgers, you met early in the season and it seemed like you were stealing bases almost at will. Flash forward to August, a little different story. How much of that early season success on the bases was the element of surprise, and how much difference was there in terms of that going away or something the Dodgers were doing? How do you explain that difference?
Yeah, I don't think you ever catch the LA Dodgers by surprise with anything. They're a very well-prepared team. They're well-run, and I just think they didn't understand necessarily what type of game we were going to play. And once they saw that, they read it and reacted to it. And you know, it's a copycat league. You gotta keep evolving with what you're doing so you don't get stuck on something or run into outs. And I think the league caught up to us and took a little adjustment for us. There was a little adjustment period of time. But we believe in our running game. We've got targets, and we know the guys that can successfully do it and who they can do it against. And those are the things that we're reviewing right now.
AJ, standing up on the right.
Torey, what's been the driving force behind this bullpen's kind of transformation into what it is now as a strength and all the big outs that kind of got in Milwaukee?
It's certainly an area of strength that at the time when we got Paul Sewald, Andrew Salfrank, Brian Thompson, it was trending in a very neutral direction. So I think the addition of those 3 guys and the emergence of Kevin Ginkel has allowed me to kind of put them in different roles and slot them in. And I think the first step was getting Paul Sewald and allowing everybody to slide back. We tried to have a revolving door, a matchup type of a closer as the Rays do, but I think that was a little bit challenging for some of our younger guys, and it became a little bit too much for them. So Sewald getting there, pushing everybody back into a role helped, and then getting some new guys such as Sal Frank and Thompson, who've got huge outs for us, is definitely pushes in the right direction.
Nick.
Torey, we ask you a lot of questions when decisions don't go right, but I'm curious for your evaluation of yourself for those first 2 games when a lot of things seem to work out.
You know, I make the same type of decisions with the same type of input and the same strategy every single time. And that's the beauty of the game, right? You may say what you're saying, but I can guarantee you I would have done the same thing in 2021. It just worked a little bit different in 2023. We were in a playoff series, and it was magnified. We're losing 110 games, and as Sparky Anderson once told me, that has to be the most unfair treatment of a manager that didn't get done overnight, right? So that's just what happens in my position. I get that. Of course, I'll absorb the good moments this team shares and has, and I will take no credit, but take all the blame. The players went out there and did the job and executed. I had about 4 or 5 plans during that game, and that's the beauty of the game. It's like a chess match, right? The game can explode over on this side of the table, and then you got to figure out what's going on this side of the table. So there was definitely, that was probably option 4 or 5, but we were prepared for it because I talked to the staff and we knew what we were going to do and ask of our athletes.
How like empowering do you feel like it is as a manager?
I just got sorry guys, gotta give him a hug. Do you raise the?
Good luck. Not really. I love you no matter what.
I love you, bro.
That's what makes you feel good, right? When you're a teacher and kind of a mentor, you have a young athlete, you know what he's like in the minor leagues, he gets to you at the big league level, and you just have hours and hours of conversations about what it will be like when you get to that level of greatness. And for me, I watch him perform, and there's nothing better. I just wish he wasn't in the NL West, but I mean, that's a beautiful human being.
I was going to ask, how empowering is it as a manager when you have the options that you have in the bullpen these days?
Yeah, it feels really good. It's there's probably tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 of guys that I can go to that are going to go and collect big outs, and it gives me a lot of versatility. And I like options. I like to have that versatility. I think in playoff baseball, this is what I've learned. I'm still a young manager when it comes to playoff baseball experience, but through a lot of the conversations that I've had over the years with managers that have been in this arena, And then watching games, and I try to tell you guys this, it's stopping momentum. That's why Ryan Thompson came in the game in the 5th inning. He hasn't pitched in the 5th inning for us since he's gotten here, but I just felt like stopping momentum and being able to insert somebody else behind him and Kevin Ginkel that was going to get us to Paul Sewald. I mean, those were some options, but I had option 2 or 3 in back of that. So it feels really good. When you talk about feeling empowered, I think that's a very powerful statement, but it's real, and it's part of what makes your team good when you have a lot of options that aren't just throwaway options. They're legitimate options that will help you win a game.
Obviously, this team in this ballpark in particular, having been the friendliest to you guys, and Merrill especially, is that something you've addressed with your guys ahead of this series, and kind of how have you talked about that with them?
No, I haven't. I don't need to. They know, and we're in a very competitive environment right now. It's the Elite Eight, right? You got 8 teams standing up, and we're 0-0 with the LA Dodgers, and we know that it's a very tough venue. Their fans are loud, they're engaged, their players are outstanding. We got to do certain things very, very well to get by and keep pushing forward and hopefully win baseball games. And we know what they are. It's just a matter of going out and executing. So. Talking to Merrill, I don't need to. Merrill's too good, too smart, too heady, and ready to make some quality adjustments. And they're not wholesale adjustments. When he's pitching well, he's hitting lines. He can work the entire box and hit that line, and on any side, at any level. So we need to get him locked in, which I'm sure he's working on right now, and he'll be fine.
Standing up in the back.
What kind of presence does Ketel Marte bring to the lineup, and just what does he mean to the offense as a whole?
Yeah, there's definitely a swagger that he plays with, a cockiness, a very humble cockiness. It's not outward. He doesn't show anybody up. But there's just a very strong, positive presence that he walks around with no matter where he is. You can see him at the hotel. You see him on the bases. You see him in the clubhouse. It's just who he is. And I like that. Otherwise, I'm pretty boring and vanilla. So we need to spice it up a little bit with some of his presence. I'm all for it. So the fact that he also happens to be a really good baseball player and get big knocks for us and make good plays on defense, it's been a pleasure for me to watch him. He's had some very lean years because of his health. He's been healthy the majority of this year, and I've asked him to go out there, and he hasn't been 100%. And these guys never knew it. Like, he never showed up in a way that he wasn't giving you everything that he had. And to me, that's the ultimate type of competitor that he is, because he's going to give you all that he has on that given day.
Sam?
I'm curious, after the 21 season, you hired Jeff Bannister, and why did you hire him, and what has he kind of brought to this team in 2 years since?
Yeah, I'm so glad you gave me an opportunity to talk about him. You're in a good spot with your first lieutenant when your first lieutenant does your job better than you do. That's the feeling I have. He lets me take my eyes off of pregame. He runs the pregame infield ground balls. I can take care of other meetings that I need to have, one-on-one conversations with players in my office. He oversees the scheduling of the whole day. So pregame, hands off, eyes off, and on top of that, he's probably putting out 7 to 10 small little fires for me that never quite reach my desk. In-game decision making, I have a former manager sitting next to me that's walked every walk, and he can slow the game down and talk baseball with me, and I need that. And he can project, he can get 2 or 3 innings ahead of me. He's doing all the dirty work behind the scenes while I can keep my eye on the game, having conversations about readiness for players, and that's in-game decisions. And then, the work that he's doing to make sure that there is a line of accountability inside of our coaching staff, and that every player has, because that's a huge word in every culture, in every successful culture, there's nobody better. He fills in my gaps. Like I said, I tend to be a little bit boring. I've been trying to widen my scope and open up my perspective, but I'm kind of like the guy that pays attention to that pile of dirt in front of him. I need to figure out what's going on around me, and he's walking that length with me. So I would be where I am today. He's been the best thing that's ever happened to me as a manager. I've had some really good bench coaches. Luis Arrieta, who's with the with the Marlins, I've had Jerry Nairn, unbelievable baseball knowledge, and Ron Gardenhire. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to them, but Jeff Bannister deserves to be a manager one day, once again, but he's filled in every gap for me perfectly.
Do another one down here in the front.
Hey, sorry. Just kind of curious. The other day on the radio, Mike Hazen confirmed that he agreed to an extension. I'm allowed to talk about it, but I was curious what your reaction was to that.
Unbelievably well deserved. He's brought a level of stability to this organization. He has done a lot of everything that he's talked about. A small market team, building from within, being competitive. I know that we had a couple lean years. There's reason for that. That's all of our responsibilities. But it's very well deserved. With everything that he's walked through personally, everything that we've walked through professionally, I think that having him here and knowing he's going to be here is a really good thing for this organization.
Thank you. So circling back to the stopping momentum question, you got a fully gassed bullpen and a couple of off days coming up, so you can use them as you like. The track record Merrill has here in the stadium as a consideration, as well as the fact that over 70% of Game 1 winners go on to win the series. So with all of that you already know, are you ready to be just as aggressive as you were in Game 1 in Milwaukee?
If I need to be, I will, of course. I will read and react accordingly. I will obviously pay attention to what's going on per inning. If there's 25 pitches per inning, as there was with Brandon Fott, we're into that mid-70 pitch range after 3 innings. Yes, I will definitely be mindful. I will, once again, as I always do, even with Zach Gallen's start, I have probably 3 or 4 different game plans walking into that. And as you get a little further, you start Xing them off. And it wasn't looking great for Zach. I was probably on game plan number 3 after the first. And he walked behind me and told me we're good. So I believe in Merrill. He might get a little bit more of a look than I would normally give somebody like Brandon Fott, but I'll have to read and react accordingly.
Take one last one, David on the right.
Torey, I wanted to ask you about Geraldo Perdomo. Middle of the season, middle of the season, you had basically 2 shortstops, and now you have 1. My question is, how did Geraldo really gain your confidence as that guy, that everyday guy, even as the bat went a little south in the second part of the season?
Yeah, he has this inner confidence that you don't know unless you talk to him. I know that you probably talked to him several times. He's a very comfortable human being inside of that body. I like that. The heartbeat never changes. He admits with the faults and limitations that he has. He continues to enhance his strengths, and that's how I knew him through player development and on into the early years of his major league career. But this year it seemed like something clicked. Something clicked offensively, and I know the second half wasn't as strong as the first, but he was a National League All-Star, so he was recognized by his peers as somebody that was gonna be able to go out there in Midsummer Classic and represent the National League. So we weren't the only ones seeing what we saw every single day. It was consistency with the at-bats, it was controlling the zone, it was getting on base, understanding what the at-bat was asking for, and then defensively, it was just operating at full speed. And it wasn't just during the game. I was watching his practice reps in spring training, I was watching his practice reps in pregame when the season started. It was very consistent. Those are the work habits that I like to see. It gives me a lot of hope when I don't know that he's going to be a really good player for us, and it's translated that way. But I would say, to summarize it, sorry for the long answer, I'd say it's the human being, the heartbeat, and the ability to go out there and prepare is what makes him